burn, and for some reasons, all the bullshit TV shows always seems to linger around. Well, Ghostly Whispers is about to educate you folks, so take your shoes off, get back and relax, and prop your head up upon a very comfy pillow. As we get into this, first of all, the key element to any television show of any kind, it all begins with the writers. I mean, let's face it, not every writer is going to agree with everyone's idea. You've got certain writers that feel that the show should go one particular direction, while you may have another writer totally disagree. They could have different and several ideas as far as the topics and the subject matter and whatever the case may be. I mean, the writers in the studio is no different from any type of workplace. There's going to be disagreements. There's going to be all different types of crap going on. And whenever you have a brilliant writer or writers up and leave the show, usually they are going to be replaced by writers who are pretty much mediocre. You have to understand the facts that every show, it begins with the writers. If you have brilliant writers, then the show is going to last a very long time. If you have very talented, gifted writers, that makes the show incredibly funny to watch and very entertaining to watch, then there is a very good chance that the show is going to last for a very, very long time. But if you have writers that are pretty much mediocre, it's just a matter of time before the show crashes and burns, and then it's taken off the air. Another reason why shows tend to get canceled is because of the actors themselves. For an example, if you have a hit television show that is generating so much money, especially if or when there is merchandise involved, there are going to be times where the actress or the main actor, the star of the show, feels that he or she is not being fairly compensated, and they demand a negotiation on their contract. Now, in some cases, they get exactly what they want, considering the fact that they are the main character of the show, or the main characters of the show, and the studio execs, they know for a fact that the show will not survive without that particular actor or actress. And especially if there's plenty of money to go around, they sometimes get what they want. But if you have someone like a supporting cast or a person who doesn't have that many lines in the show, and they want a piece of the pie, and they demand more money, then most likely they're not going to get it, because number one, they're not the star of the show, and if they leave, it does not make or break the show. So if they threaten the studio execs that they are walking if they don't get the money, then the studio execs, they be like, well, adios. But if it's a main character or the main superstar of the show, a lot of times if they demand more money, most likely they're going to get it, because the show will not survive without them. Another reason why actors leave the show and cause the show to crash and burn is because sometimes you have actors who allow their egos to get in the way, and they get to a point where known as Lieutenant Horatio Kane in the hit TV show CSI Miami. In the middle of the incredibly hype and successful show, David Caruso decided to leave the show because he felt that he is ready for the big screen. He felt that he is beyond the show, regardless how incredibly successful he was. He decided to up and leave because he thought he was a superior badass and that he no longer needed the show. And he thought that he could do much, much better on the big screen, even though he has been in a bunch of small parts and small roles, as far as the movies is concerned, but he was never the leading man. Even though he was the leading man on the television show, but he wanted to do leading roles in feature films. But in reality, that did not work out for him. So he was forced to go back on the show. What a lot of people fail to realize, and I'm not being ugly when I say this, but in order to be a leading man, first of all, you've got to be at least attractive. Not saying the man is ugly or anything like that, but I mean, he is no George Clooney or Brad Pitt or someone who is considered a heartthrob. Now, he may be considered a heartthrob to a lot of women, but he's definitely no leading man material, and Hollywood knows this. So he pretty much went back to the show, and the show was incredibly successful. I mean, this is not the only time a situation like this occurs. It happens a lot when you have an actor or actress who leaves an incredibly successful show because they feel that they're ready for the big screen. And a lot of times when they hit the big screen, it does not work out well for them at all. And then you have musicians who try to cross over from the music scene to the movies, and every now and then that actually works out, but for the most part it does not. For example, Britney Spears tried her hand at acting, and it was terrible. In my personal opinion, I mean, she did okay, but she's definitely no actress. And then Madonna, she tried her hand also at the feature film, and she made a few films, and they all turned out to be box office disaster. Now, the last movie she made, it wasn't really all that bad. I can't remember the name of it, but it's Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, some shit like that. But anyway, her acting performance, it wasn't Oscar worthy or Academy Award or Golden Globes or anything like that, but let's just say that the last project she participated in, let's just say that it did not directly go into the Walmart dollar DVD bin. Remember the hit television show called MASH? That was by far the biggest television show in history at that particular time. And a lot of people wondered, why on earth did that show ever end? Well, I'll explain it to you. First of all, you had several actors who started out on the show who eventually quit for their own personal reasons. And a lot of times when actors are replaced, sometimes it's for the best and sometimes it is definitely for the worst. he was replaced because he quit the show. So, although the studio execs begged him to stay, but his character was written off. And they explained how he died in the show was that he was going home, and on his way home, his helicopter was shot down. So they had to replace him with another actor. So they had to replace him with actor Harry Morgan, who played Lieutenant Colonel Sherman Potter. Now, sometimes, like I said before, when an actor takes the place of an original actor, sometimes it works out for the best, sometimes it does not. But in this particular case, it actually worked out because the fans, they accepted him. I accepted him. He did a very good job on the show. He was funny, he was stern, he was very witty, and he worked out on the show, so no complaints there. And then another cast member who also quit for various reasons was actor Larry Linville, who played Major Frank Burns. Now, I have to be honest with you, he was by far the funniest character on the show. You know, everybody made fun of him because he was a total goofball, and I was extremely upset why, you know, the fact that he left the show, because he pretty much helped made the show. And he was replaced by another actor by the name of David Olgan. And I have to admit, he was definitely not my favorite. I mean, there was nothing comedic about him. He was stern, he was arrogant, he was pompous. He was okay. I mean, he was no Major Frank Burns or anything like that, but, you know, I guess the fans accepted him to a degree, but the majority of the fans did not. I mean, it's really a catch-22 when it comes to him, because, you know, he was not my favorite, but he worked out on the show, so I guess there was really no hardcore complaints about that. But I just wish that, you know, the original actor stayed on the show. But it is what it is. And then my favorite one, Trapper John, who was Hawkeye Pierce's sidekick. He was by far one of the most funniest guys on the show. He helped make the show. Him and Alan Alda, who played Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce. You know, he pretty much helped make the show. And when he left for various reasons, he was replaced by actor Mike Farrell, who played the role as BJ Honeycutt. Now, I have to be honest, he was okay. He was funny. He had a lot of jokes. He was witty. You know, him and Alan Alda, they mashed pretty well. Him and Hawkeye Pierce, they mashed pretty well on the show. Now, in my personal opinion, he was not as good. I mean, like I said, he was not as good as the original actor, who was Wayne Rogers, who played the role as Trapper John. You know, like I said, Trapper John and Hawkeye, they pretty much made the show. If it wasn't for them, I think the show probably would have died a long time ago. And Major Houlihan, who was played by Loretta Swit, her on-again, off-again lover romance with Major Frank Burns. I mean, they pretty much made the show. Those guys were incredibly hilarious, you know. But, like I said, when main characters leave the show, a it took a completely different turn. It went from puns and jokes and tons of laughter to Hawkeye Pierce losing his mind and going crazy and constantly having conversations with his father, whether it's writing letters or having conversations with his father in his mind. I mean, just about every episode, it was all about Alan Alda going crazy and constantly having conversations with the therapist on the show. I mean, it just wasn't funny anymore. It got to a point where, in my personal opinion, the show got stupid. I hate to say it like that, but I mean, it just went in a completely, totally different direction, and all the main characters were gone, just about, and the show, it was just stupid, in my opinion, and the fans got tired of it. The fans got to a point where they just wasn't interested in the show anymore. What a lot of people fail to realize is that anytime that you have a show that it costs a ton of money to keep on the air, it costs a lot of money to produce, it costs money to direct, you have to pay the actors as well, and studio execs is not going to continue to funnel money on a show that nobody watches. When it comes to a television show, it's not only about the writing, but it's also about the ratings. And if a show is not getting that much ratings and people are not tuning in and people are not watching it, then the studio execs, they're gonna pull the plug, because there's no sense in paying all this money to all these people. Not to mention you have to pay the actors and nobody is watching. So eventually they are going to cancel the show. Those are the two things that pretty much will destroy a show. If people are not tuning in, watching it, they're gonna pull the plug easily. And another show called The Golden Girls. I don't know, some of you probably are old enough to remember that show, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you are, and that was by far one of the most funniest television shows of all time. What killed that show was, first of all, the lead character, Dorothy. She left the show. The lead character was B. Arthur, actress B. Arthur, who played the role of Dorothy Spornak or some shit like that. But anyway, she left the show, and then studio execs, they were scrambling on what they were going to do, because I mean, she was the main character of the show. There would be no Golden Girls without her. So, and also, the show did not have the original writers that it started off with. The original writers was actually brilliant. They were the best writers on the planet at that particular time, but I've already explained to you the reasons why so many writers leave, because of creative differences or job offers and whatever the case may be, and they ended up with mediocre writers. That's one of the main reasons why B. Arthur left, because you got to have good scripts for the show to continue. You've got to have excellent scripts for the show to be successful. And that's one of the main reasons why she left. And then the studio execs, they came up with another idea. They decided to make a spin-off to where the remaining characters were left, but they were in business by running some type of hotel, motel, or some type of restaurant. I really can't remember. You have to look that up. But it turned out to be a flop, and people was not tuning in. People was not watching it, and they were not survive. I mean, people, they're so used to the laughter and the joy and the happiness and, the incredible creativity by great writers with great scripts. And then all of a sudden, you no longer have those writers anymore, and you're being left with bullshit writers who do not know how to write for a show. And then, next thing you know, the episodes get very stupid. And people don't want to watch that, so they tune out of that and they start watching something else. And because of that, when the view count goes down, studio execs, they're not going to continue to fork over money on a project that's no longer successful, so they cancel the shows. The same thing with Criminal Minds. Oh my god, that was such an incredible, awesome show. But the lead character, Aaron Hotchner, FBI agent, he was fired from the show because of creative differences with the writer or producer. I don't know exactly what started the argument, but I know that the actor kicked one of the writers or the producers of the show, so they got rid of him. And then you've got another actor. I can't remember these people's names, so you're gonna have to go and look them up. The second one, FBI agent Derek Morgan, he left the show because of creative differences, and he was offered another role for a completely new television show called SWAT. And then you have the other actor. I can't remember what her name is either, but she played FBI agent J.J. Giroux. She was the telecommunications liaison, and she left the show because she demanded more money. I mean, it's all about creative differences. It's all about contract renegotiations. It's all about having brilliant writers, and then you wind up with bullshit writers. I mean, it happens each and every single time. But at least the show ran for a good 14, 15 years. So that's not terribly bad. Actually, that's still good. You can still watch these shows on Hulu. They have every season on them. The Golden Girls, MASH, Criminal Minds, and the list goes on. But Agent Giroux, she wound up coming back a few seasons later, probably because she couldn't get any work anywhere else, and plus the money was getting low. That's what happened, folks. It's just like music when you put out a #1 album and then you disappear for a couple of years, only to return to make a new album. The only reason why they do that is because the money gets low, and they wind up getting broke and shit like that. I mean, it is what it is, folks. Another brilliant television show was called House. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. That show was addicting as hell. And the same problem happened with that show. I mean, when the original writers leave and they hire new writers, bullshit writers, it just pretty much destroys the show. And throughout the seasons, we have seen new characters. The original characters have been also been wondering that myself. But anyway, take care and God bless. And I will see you all soon in the next video. Always remember,